With profound humble gratitude and love to all venerated enlightened masters, we bow to the Almighty in soulful gratefulness for gifting us with their holy blessed presence. May all beings be awakened by their divine grace.
Part 4 of 4.
Etc.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programas offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Acara kami menyediakan banyak bahasa. Silakan lihat suprememastertv.com/schedule.
So, if they are beings who want to get relief from birth and death and avoid the cycle of birth and death, they should firstly cut off desire and remove like. Please continue watching to hear the wisdom from the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment.
Vegan. Let's prove that we know logic and reason.
Ayubowan is a traditional Sri Lankan greeting which means wishing you long life in Sinhala, one of the official languages of Sri Lanka. I am Kasun. The spiritual Sri Lankans appreciate your efforts in following the Lord Buddha's teachings of compassion for all beings through the benevolent vegan lifestyle and join you in this loving action. Welcome to Selections from the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, Illusion and Desire, Part 2 of 2, on Words of Wisdom. Buddha or Gautama Buddha, also known as Shakyamuni Buddha, was a great extraordinary spiritual master from ancient India. Born as Prince Siddhartha Gautama in the 5th century BC, he would have naturally inherited the vast wealth of a kingdom. However, the prince left the palace life in search of spiritual knowledge. After years of contemplative seeking, the Buddha attained great enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. He then shared the merits of his practice by providing a method for other sentient beings to be freed from the cycle of death and rebirth. The rich treasury of Buddha's spiritual doctrine on universal truths is studied and revered to this day for its deep wisdom and compassion. The Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, or Yonjoi Ching, is a Buddhist scripture most likely composed in China during the start of the 8th century, with its origin deemed to be from the Chan and Huayan field of study and practice. It is a very popular and influential sutra within the meditation-oriented Buddhist schools of East Asia like Chinese Chan, Korean Seon, and Japanese Zen. A key factor for its popularity is its condensed format that focuses on the most important theoretical issues of the nature of enlightenment. There are 12 chapters and a short convocation in the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. The convocation section sets out the scene of the sermon and the involvement of key participants. In a deep state of meditative concentration or samadhi, Buddha and 100,000 great bodhisattvas, with 12 eminent bodhisattvas acting as spokespersons, engage in dialogue with the Buddha on doctrine, practice, and enlightenment. Let us continue with selections from chapters 4 and 5 from the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, where Lord Buddha expounds on the illusionary nature of this world and the method for getting out of the cycle of birth and death. Chapter 4 Vajragarva Bodhisattva. Buddha, if all beings are Buddhas originally, then why is there ignorance? Good man, intentional thoughts arise from the action of our mind. They are the conditions of 6 objects that 6 sense organs perceive, and illusory thoughts, not the real nature of mind, and they are like flowers in empty space. To think by these thoughts and distinguish the state of Buddhas is like that of empty flowers causing illusory fruits. These thoughts make you continuously and repeatedly think falsely, and there is nothing correct. Good man, there are many tricky views in our illusory wafted mind. They cannot make people achieve complete enlightenment expediently. To distinguish things like that will not make correct questions. At that time, Buddha wanted to preach the doctrine again. Therefore, he said by poem, Bodhisattva Vajragarva, you should know, the nature of Buddha's nirvana does not have a beginning and end. If you think it by the mind of the cycle of birth and death, then you will go around repeatedly. You can just reach the state in the cycle of birth and death, and you cannot enter the sea of Buddha's nirvana. It is like that when people refine gold minerals. The gold exists not according to refinement. Although the gold minerals originally are gold, they still need to be refined to become gold. And after they become real gold, they will not return to be minerals. Birth and death and nirvana, common people and Buddha are all like empty flowers. Even thoughts are illusory, not to mention other false things. If you can completely realize the mind, then you can seek the complete enlightenment. Chapter 5 Maitreya Bodhisattva. Then in the multitude, Bodhisattva Maitreya stood up from the seat, worshipped Buddha's feet with his head, went around Buddha clockwise 3 times, knelt down, put his palms together, and said to Buddha, Merciful Buddha, you showed the secret treasure to Bodhisattvas and made the multitude deeply enlightened to the cycle of birth and death, and realize what are right ways or wrong ways. You gave the beings in the era that Buddhism is going to be extinguished fearless eyes to observe doctrines, made these beings be confident that they can attain nirvana absolutely, and made these beings not be repeatedly born and die in the cycle of birth and death, and not to give rise to repeated wrong views. Buddha, if there are bodhisattvas and the beings in the era that Buddhism is going to be extinguished, who want to travel Buddha's great sea of nirvana, then what should they do to cut off the source of the cycle of birth and death? How many categories of beings are there in the cycle of birth and death? How many kinds of differences are there in practicing Buddha's enlightenment? If a bodhisattva returns to the cycle of birth and death, what expedient ways should he preach to make the beings get relief? I wish Buddha not to give up the great compassion of rescuing beings. Make the wisdom eyes of all practicing bodhisattvas and the beings in the era that Buddhism is going to be extinguished be clear. Make the mirror of their mind shine, and make these people be completely enlightened to Buddha's highest view. After Bodhisattva Maitreya said that, he worshipped Buddha with his head and 4 extremities touching the ground. He requested 3 times repeatedly from the beginning to the end. At that time, Buddha said to Bodhisattva Maitreya, very good, good man. For bodhisattvas and the beings in the era that Buddhism is going to be extinguished, you ask Buddha the profound, secret, subtle, and wonderful doctrine to make the bodhisattvas clear their wisdom eyes, make the beings in the era that Buddhism is going to be extinguished cut off the cycle of birth and death forever, and make their mind be enlightened to the reality and attain the forbearance of non-existence. Listen carefully now, I will expound it for you. At that time, Bodhisattva Maitreya happily accepted Buddha's preaching. The multitude also listened quietly. Good man, from long ago to now, because all beings have various kinds of likes and desires, Therefore, there is the cycle of birth and death. All kinds of beings in the universe, no matter that they are born from egg, born from womb, born by moisture, or born by transformation, have life because of sexual desire. You should know like is the source of the cycle of birth and death, because there are desires making beings generate like. Therefore, they can make beings be born and die repeatedly. Desires appear because of likes. Lives exist because of desires, and beings like their own lives depend on desires to be the source. Likes and desires are the causes of the cycle of birth and death, and to like lives is the effect of the cycle of birth and death. Due to desires, there are the satisfactory states and opposite states, and if there are beings who are opposite like, then dislike appears, and it makes beings create bad karma. Therefore, the beings will be born in hell and hungry spiritual realms. If there are beings who realize that desires are dislikable, then they like to practice keeping away from bad karma made by desires. Then they abandon the bad behavior caused by desires and like to make the good karmas caused by keeping away from desires. And then the beings will be born in heaven and human realms. And because they realize that likes are dislikable, they abandon likes and happiness, but oppositely increase their likes because they like to practice abandoning likes. And then these practices will cause worldly good effects. All of these behaviors are in the cycle of birth and death. They will not make the beings become saints. So if there are beings who want to get relief from birth and death and avoid the cycle of birth and death, they should firstly cut off desire and remove like.
I didn't take to running because I wanted to run. I wanted to promote veganism and the benefits of a plant-based diet. Fiona Oakes, vegan.
Splendid viewers, it was a delight to have your company today for Words of Wisdom. Coming up next is Pamukkale and Hierapolis, Turkey Age, Ancient History and Natural Wonder, right after noteworthy news. May Lord Buddha's wisdom be your inspiration always.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/WOW.